Hello, welcome to That's Runnable, where we run the runnable. I'm Tommy. Today we're doing a bit of a different one. Usually we'll be talking about all things running, all things trail and ultra, endurance, but as running and the ethos of That's Runnable is so relevant to life, today I want to take a moment to talk to you about mine. I've made a big decision recently, one that's exciting, fills me with delight and anticipation, but is also quite intimidating. And I think we can all think of races we've signed up for that have the same or similar feelings involved. Yeah, I will constantly try and tenuously link what I'm talking about today with running, or maybe I won't. I don't know. Maybe that'll get annoying. But I've taken the decision to quit my job and go full-time on this. Full-time on building a community worth being a part of. There's a lot that we have planned with That's Runnable, and it won't be possible to execute if I'm spending 40 hours a week selling software. So today, I want to sort of pull back the curtain on how I've been thinking about all this recently, and hopefully bring you along with me as we go all in on this. I have actually tried to record this podcast a couple of times, and if I'm being honest, I had some notes. I wanted to make sure I got all of the points across, but each time it's not felt real enough. And so I'm actually going to, for the most part, scrap the notes, and I'm just going to talk to you. I'm just going to sit here and talk to you about everything. I will try and retain some structure and make it somewhat palatable for you. But yeah, we're going to talk about where it all started for me with this running stuff. What was the aim with, starting to produce content and that sort of stuff online? Why quit my job now, not earlier, not later? What sort of came about there? And what's the plan? What's the plan going forward? Hopefully through all of that, I can give you a bit of an insight into the doubts, the struggles, sacrifices, and various considerations I've made along the way. Now, I don't want this podcast to necessarily be about me. This isn't the Tommy Lewis podcast, but I do feel like in order to connect with what we're trying to do here and to feel more a part of the That's Runnable community, I want you to know the founding story, basically, because it contributes hugely to the decisions I make for the business and for everyone who benefits from it now and hopefully long into the future. So, thanks for being here. I hope you're doing well. If you're out for a run right now, lock in. I hope this serves as a nice accompaniment to your run. Well done for getting out the door, making it happen, prioritizing yourself, your health, your mental well-being, and doing the training you promised yourself you'd do, even if you've adapted it today. And you're just making sure you do something because you know that something is better than nothing always. Well done for getting out there. You're doing the thing. So kudos to you. Before we dive in, just one thing. I want to share my heartfelt thanks to all of you who've tuned in so far. We have listeners from over 40 different countries. Outside of the UK, we have listeners from Australia. My mum will be happy about that one. Germany, the Netherlands, the US, Sweden, Denmark, Ireland, Norway, Italy, Spain, Belgium, Austria, Philippines, Czech Republic, Switzerland, Canada, New Zealand, Romania, Finland, India, Portugal, Croatia, Luxembourg, Estonia, South Africa, Argentina, Lithuania, Poland, Latvia, and more. And if you're the one person dialing in from Iceland, big up yourself. We're building a community of people who want to connect on the mantra to run the runnable, to find what's possible and take action on it. This is already such a supportive community. I see you in the comments of social media posts, supporting each other, sharing tips, experiences, and lifting each other up. That's really what it's all about. We're just getting started, so if you're already here, enjoying what we're doing, thank you. It means the world to me, and I hope you can feel a part of something bigger than just some bloke recording a podcast from his home in North London. If you want to get more involved and possibly even feature on the next podcast, stay till the end and I'll let you know how. So let's dive in to this special episode of That's Runnable. So I'm quitting my job. I Today I'm speaking to you a day before I plan to hand in my notice at my job. If you're curious about what I do, I sell software. So I've been working in software as a service, business to business sales for a fair while now, for the most part. I've had various jobs in companies ranging from very early stage startups to scaling startups to bigger private equity owned companies, the lot really. And it's all been sort of software sales to some extent and commercial roles for tech businesses. And now is no different. I work for a tech company and I sell their software. And as much as I genuinely love the company I work for, I've always known that software sales and the job I fell into after uni was not for me, really. I think it's a problem of being okay at something and convincing yourself that if you're quite good at it, then you should continue doing it. But I've never loved it. I've always, once the novelty wore off from every job I had, I've always felt like it's a real challenge to enjoy the work I'm doing on a daily basis. So that's where I'm at right now. So where did it all start? Why did I start making content about running on the internet? And I guess where did the ethos around that content come from? So before I started running, I hated the idea of running. Even the idea of running it didn't make sense to me. You know, why would you run if you weren't chasing a ball, if you weren't running with a stick chasing a ball, or if you weren't chasing after someone carrying a ball? I just didn't understand it. Why would you just run for the sake of running? It seemed boring. I found it boring when I tried it. It was hard and it was pointless. I didn't get it. But when I left school, I was sort of forced to find something outside of the gym that was a physical outlet, something that I could just do. I didn't have any money. I probably wasn't a member of a gym at that point. And so I started running, and I found running to be a real great escape. And I started to really see the benefits it had on me as an individual. And so I kept doing it. The goals I was setting myself, the feeling I got after each run, it was great. I was going out there and I was setting goals, whether they were sort of slightly misinformed in terms of what I should have been doing. They were good goals because they helped me outside of my running too, to have this mentality, this driven mentality. And that was how I saw it. That was all that running was to me. It was an extension of the attitude I took to life. Go out and try. But I never really felt part of the running community. I guess I sort of saw the stereotype of what a runner was in my head, and whatever that picture was, I didn't much like it. It didn't feel like me. I didn't aspire to be like it. I didn't want to be part of it. And some of that resurfaces today when I see certain aspects of the running community, certain aspects of where you might find elitism, where you might find too much care about the gear and not the activity, this sort of over-commercialized side of running. That's never really appealed to me, and I see that today still. But then I found trail running. Back when I didn't feel a part of a community, I found trail running, and ultra trail more specifically, and American ultra trail even more specifically. And all of a sudden I was exposed to a culture, an attitude, and a part of the sport that I felt like I could be part of. I felt like these people who were running ultras had the same attitudes as me. They didn't care much for, speeds and status. They were doing it for bigger reasons, deeper reasons, and doing it in a way that was a little bit more individual, but with a real focus and emphasis on the community and the camaraderie and the friendship and the culture. And finally, I had found something that spoke to me in the running space, and that was really when I found my love for running, and that was really when it exploded in my mind as my great interest. Never before had I really been interested in events other than for proving to others that I was capable of doing them. I had done a few marathons before, but when I found ultra, and specifically ultra trail, and I found all the documentaries online from Billy Yang and West Plate and various others, I found this culture that I was drawn to. And all of a sudden I was interested in actually signing up to events. The events themselves interested me. The excitement of those events drove me to continue pushing more and more in the sport. And ultimately, therefore, in my life. And I found my true space in the sport. Now, around about that time, this is 4 years ago, I wanted to escape my day job. Back then, no different from now. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing, and I felt locked in and trapped in a corporate ladder that I needed to jump off. I needed to change the space I was working in and the stuff I was doing on a day-to-day basis. I thought I was into fitness, I'll be a personal trainer. And many of you may have heard the story before. I became a personal trainer and I failed, essentially. I ran out of money. I had to jump back to the corporate world and continue selling software. During that time as a personal trainer and a run coach, it was important for me to make content and try and essentially market my business, my personal training business. As you might imagine, all personal trainers should and are posting on social media, or at least 99.9% of them. So I was making content back then. I was trying to understand how it worked, how to provide value, and really start to try and grow a following on social media. When I jumped back into the corporate world, when my personal training stint sort of failed, I was actually really embarrassed about my content. It was so irrelevant to the work I was doing. Well, I say it was irrelevant and that's why I deleted it all. But in reality, I was just embarrassed about it. I was just embarrassed. I was that was a real part of me that I was showing the world. And then at some point, I jumped back into a career that wasn't me. And I deleted a part of me. I was embarrassed by my content, so I deleted all my old content. Sad times. Now, after some time, I actually got made redundant from that job, and it forced me to start making content again and get serious about actually building a following and trying to build leverage in the running space. So I went all in on making content and trying to sort of re-kick off my coaching business a little bit. And that was about 3 years ago now, and I've really continued to do that consistently and learned as much as I possibly could about building a community online and providing people with content that I would have liked when I was just starting out, that I also don't think necessarily exists already. My aim for my content was to break through the noise, basically. This has always been my goal. There's a lot of running influencers out there. There's a lot of content creators who are making running content out there. There's loads of coaches and all sorts. And what people might see represents a certain stereotype potentially, and it could be the same as what I saw from the running world when I was just starting out, and could have stopped me from even continuing to engage with what is now my great interest and has had so much value in my life. I wanted to speak to what that could potentially be for someone else. I wanted to celebrate the runner who doesn't feel like a runner. And ultimately, I wanted to build leverage in a space that I want to work in, something I feel passionate about and something I feel can be of genuine value and benefit to the world, even on a small scale. So that's been the aim so far with my content on social media, etc. So why now? I think it's pretty clear why I'm quitting the job in terms of what I'm walking away from. Why now though? Why am I doing it now? Why haven't I done it sooner? Why don't I wait and coast for a little bit? Sorry if you can hear a squeaky chair. I'll stop moving. I've spoken already about not enjoying the day-to-day of my full-time job. The truth is that is the case currently. So that alone is enough to consider something else. But the real reason why I'm choosing to do it now is because I'm exceptionally passionate about it. And I'm not one to say things like follow your heart. But I do believe in intuition. And my gut is just telling me to move now. I am so excited about being able to commit all of my time to write, speak, record content, whatever it is, about running, about trail running, about ultra running, and all the benefits it has. I'm passionate about this sport. I'm passionate about the people that are following along, and I'm really passionate about helping you, genuinely. And I don't know, man. It's just like when you find something that lights you up, that really gets you fired up in the morning, you realize that there's something worth leaning into here, something that's bigger than you, and I want to feed the fire, you know? Now, I could have waited. I could have waited until the new year. There were plenty of reasons from a work perspective that I won't go into that would mean I could have waited. But I wanted to move now. I wanted to use the passion I have for it now to initiate it. And if I keep coasting, that also lacks integrity, and I wouldn't be able to make That's Runnable what I want it to be. So, what's the plan? Well, this will become all much clearer if you follow along, if you sort of engage with the stuff that's coming from That's Runnable, whether you're reading the newsletter, listening to this podcast. At this point, I actually haven't released any podcasts. I'm talking to you from the 14th of October. And so at this moment, in my mind, the newsletter is the only thing that exists from That's Runnable. But the podcast is now out. Soon there will be merchandise, and I'm really excited to say that I've initiated conversations with a great partner for this. So excited to release more on that. There'll be digital products, so how-tos on building your own plan, training plans themselves, and other cool digital guides and courses online that you can buy. There'll be events. We're planning to do an event in the spring, and these events will all be inclusive in their format. I'm excited to bring something to you that you believe you can get involved in, whether you're an insane ultra runner who's been doing it for many years, or whether you're just getting into things. The format of these races, in a very clever way, will be inclusive. And I'm excited to bring more of that to you. And there's just so much more that we can do as a community. That's Runnable. And I'm so excited to just dive into it, go all in. Hey, look, I think if you are approaching anything without recognizing that it could fail, then you're setting yourself up to fail. This could fail, but I'm passionate about it now. And I think that's a good thing. The plan is happening. I'm doing it now, and I don't want to get all soppy all the time, but I'm super grateful for all the support that comes my way. Anyway, final thoughts. I've written down on my notes final thoughts to explain the ethos of That's Runnable and summarize. I think any founder will find it difficult to speak to their brand and their ethos and their mission with ease at the early stages, but That's Runnable's ethos and philosophy is an extension of my own. If you listen to episode 1, I think you'll get a good picture of this, a good idea of what it stands for. But I'll just summarize by saying That's Runnable is built on the mantra, run the runnable, which stands for doing the doable, promising yourself that you will do what you can. It's about finding what you can do and doing it. Run the Runnable is what this brand is built on. And I hope that everything we do, emphasizes that, accentuates that. And ultimately, I hope that whatever this is, whatever it ends up being, I hope it has real value. I hope it has real value. That's it. That's the episode. I went a bit off notes there, but I really appreciate you sticking it out with me. I hope this episode hasn't put you off continuing to follow along and listen to future episodes. They will be more structured. They'll be about, we will talk about topics related to running, trail running, ultra running. We're talking about races. We're talking about race prep. We're talking about the beauty of certain scenery. We'll go through certain races, race experiences. We'll do listener questions, Q&A. We will do top tips for training, how to create a training plan. We'll talk about motivation. We'll talk about zone 2 training. We'll talk about everything I love talking about, and I know you love talking about and listening to content about. And I thank you so much for being here for the ride. I hope that you enjoy it, and if you enjoy it, you tell your mates. If you want to leave a review, I've heard it does wonders for the podcast, and I'd appreciate it if you left a 5-star review, obviously. Talking of listener questions, if you want to get involved in the podcast and submit a question to be answered on an upcoming episode, or you may just want to share a personal story, something you think others could benefit from hearing, there's a link in the description where you can leave a voice clip. You may be struggling with motivation, you might be having foot care issues, or you might have a deeper question that's seemingly unrelated to running. Whatever it is, follow the link in the description and submit a short voice note, and we can include it in a future episode. If we get enough, we might even dedicate a whole section to Q&A, which I think could be fun. And if you want to also follow or subscribe, depending on the platform you're on, you'll make it more likely that you'll see the next episode when it comes out. Okay, that's enough from me. Thanks for listening. Run the Runnable, and see you next time.